Okay, K-Mac, tell us your honest review of the 002. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So first time.
And know it's going to take time.
It's going to take some time. So first day, playing competitively with it. Yeah, I mean, I can be honest. I got my butt kicked by Tyson, but that might not be specific to the paddle. I liked it. I really did. So what I liked about it, easy depth on the return. I liked it on the serve, but yeah, I would like to have a couple more times with it to really feel like I can get that depth and really dial that in. It's great for the hands. It cuts through the air faster. I've been using the Vanguard 2.0, which is a great paddle too. Right. There's definitely some, pros and cons.
It's got some added texture over the Vanguard Hybrid, correct?
It does, which it really upped it for me. So yeah, better for the serve return, definitely better for the hands. It flies quicker, cuts quicker through the air. Backhand punch is one of the best things about it. I was pleasantly surprised at how well I blocked with it. Most power paddles, when you accelerate through, it's great. But when you're trying to soften the ball or deaden it, it tends to float a little bit on you. I think this paddle is very true to your technique. Yeah. If you push through, it gives you that extra giddy up. If you hold still and just kind of let the ball meet the paddle, it deadens, but it felt very solid. Dinking is the toughest thing just because, when you're used to a certain amount of motion, you've got to, the truth is you have to change your technique a little bit when you go to a new paddle, right. Give it a little less, a little bit more. So with dinking, the sweet spot is certainly smaller than the Vanguard. I think that's the one area where you lose a little bit. But that being said, when I trusted my spin, when I went for my roll and just kind of trusted the motion and completed my shot, I felt like I was able to shape it very well. Yep. Toughest shot for me might have been third shot drop, especially when I tried to cut it. Yeah. More that like softer, liftier drop, sending it to float a little bit more. And like we talked about, sometimes just the basics, the tip down, flatter shot.
Lift and steer.
Where it looks like you have all the time in the world. You're like, hey, I don't need to add any spin here. Let's just get that in. Big target. Occasionally it has a little bit of giddy up as you're adding just a little bit of motion. But in general, I liked it. I think it's going to take me, a couple of weeks to really get some of that touchy-feely stuff dialed in. And that's more program stuff where you're not just taking dinks out of the air, but you're counteracting spin. You're moving the ball, short angle, skinny singles against you. The court's half anyways. And you're, I think, elite in a lot of areas, but one of them for sure is not just your consistency with dinking, but you move the ball around as you're being consistent, better than most for sure. So it's going to be a tough matchup for me anyways, but that was where a few more errors came into my game. But in general, especially compared to the power paddle, I think it's a step up from the previous power paddle of Selkirk. So I think they've done a really good job on it.
Nice. Yeah. It's something I noticed about Kyle's game is, with the Vanguard Hybrid or with the Vanguard 2.0, just with it being softer, like you kind of have to break your technique as you're punching.
Kind of have to add a little more.
Yeah, for sure. And something I've noticed with this is that my punch point, it's closer to my body. I don't have to go out and reach and go get it. Why? Because it's so poppy. It's more of like a tennis volley. So Selkirk users out there, if you've made the transition from like a Vanguard Hybrid to the 002 or any, and I shouldn't say any, the 001 or the 002 Selkirk Lab, know that your technique and like your punch is going to be much shorter. Like if there was two imaginary balls here, let's say the first one's there and the second one's there, meet that second imaginary ball, but like keep your arm bent. You don't have to meet the third imaginary ball out there. But it just seems like, with a softer paddle, you kind of have to break your technique and do a lot more. With this, you can get plenty of easy pop just from here. And something I've noticed with the 002 is that my block is very similar to my punch. And my punch really, from like a distance standpoint, isn't that much further from my blocks.
Similar contact.
Yeah. And so when I'm 14 feet away, I'm much more efficient with my hands. I can block, I can punch. It just seems like I'm not caught overextending. I'm not caught cocking. I'm not trying to compensate by like getting a lot. There's plenty there. And so less is more is what I'm trying to say. Less is more. Honestly, like in all areas, as you're dinking, as you're dropping, you're probably gonna have to modify your technique, tuck the elbow in, but on that punch, shorten and feel like you don't need to meet that,
Well, and even
that third imaginary ball.
What lets even if I do stick this or hit it well out here, get some good pop, unless I get ahead in that point, I now have to cock back and then go again. So there's something to be said for staying at that second imaginary ball like you're talking about and just always being ready for the next one rather than, reaching back,
For sure.
extending. I mean, you can get away with that a little more when your opponents are at the baseline.
No, of course, right.
In those firefights, especially with the level of the pro game now, I mean, you're fighting for fractions of a second. Every little bit of your technique matters now. So it's nice to at least have something where I feel like, you know, obviously I'll have to change it, I'll have to modify it, where I can kind of get back into some better technique, where I'm not trying to reach back and give it everything I have when it's not the right moment for it.
And I think that kind of goes hand in hand. If you get too extended, it's natural. If the ball,
cock,
right, it's natural to like, so you break your technique here, and then you break your technique by coming too far in, versus just staying in that little window. Easier said than done, obviously, when you feel like you don't have much time and the ball's coming at you. But something that we talk about in TM camps or KM camps is that you have more time than you think at the kitchen line. Think about keeping your hands in ready, staying home, not being so premature with your gas, and then when you are punching, keep that stuff short and tight.